the outlandishness of the news now. Every time I watch it, it's put your hat and mittens on. It's going to be cold in Austin, like we're children, and the state and media is our mommy and daddy, our big daddy. They talk to us like children. Government study shows mercury's actually good for your brain. Oh, lead and poison in toys is good for our economy, MSNBC. I've played these clips. Newscast. How could this be allowed to happen? Let's find out how this happened. How these children for 7 years were homeschooled and no one knew. It's like being in kindergarten again when the person tattles. I thought for a minute they were going to say, how on earth did this family SWAT team get arrested at their house, their children grabbed, CPS involved? Because at the start of the newscast, he says, how did this happen? We're going to find out. And then they are all freaked out. It's scary. I don't know how for 7 years in a rural area, hard-working family, and then they go on to admit, well, they were actually educated. But see, the state is there. The cult is there. You've got to be part of the cult. You've got to register with the government. You've got to file forms in New York. Now, it's a civil matter. And then if you don't comply, it can become a truancy matter. But they didn't send them a letter. They didn't send them a notice. They made an example of them. I have seen more than 100 reports, guaranteed. I see them every couple weeks for the last 6, 7 years. The federal government passes not a law, but a regulation if states want their Farm Bureau money, their agriculture money, and the government's come in and taken over all the local activist groups and turned them into government bodies and non-governmental organizations. If the states want their money, they've got to put in animal ID, premises ID. And I've read it. For our ranch and farm, we got one. We refused to sign it. And it said, you waive your rights. You are now a steward of the land. The government controls it. That's what the legalese says. And there's $1,000 a day or higher fines if a cow or a chicken dies and you don't tell us. Or if it doesn't have an RFID bracelet on it, costing more than the chicken or what you can sell it for. And there'll be federal and local state inspections. Premises ID, animal ID. Now, there's no law, but then they use color of law regulations. And they did this as a spot test all over the country. They will check and see if the person with part of the 4-H club or the ag club at the county fair or city fair, they will check and they will see who didn't sign the animal ID, premises ID. Because you have to have that to then be part of the 4-H club now. There's nothing to do with your home or your farm or your ranch. They just say, oh, it's a policy. Just like it's a policy, you got to take inoculations. And then they fraudulently rig it with the judges. This is on record to where they give the award to someone that hasn't. They give the first place blue ribbon. It's a stunt. For the hog or for the cow or for the sheep or for the goat or for the goose or for the chicken. They give it in one of the categories to someone, and then they put them in handcuffs on the stage. They bring them to the stage. This has been in the news hundreds of times. And they say, oh, we're sorry, you can't win now. And they either put them in handcuffs and say you violated the law, but then let them go. There's no law. Or they make them cry and escort them out with police security off the grounds crying. And everyone says, what happened? What happened? They didn't do the animal ID, premises ID. This is the psych warfare operations in America so that you will sign on to the animal ID, premises ID, and waive your rights that big agriculture has waivers from. Tyson Chicken gets one RFID for over 10,000 chickens. Depending on the type of ID they get. You have to get one $10 to $14 tag per chicken. And the only state to actually pass a law with the feds was Texas. And it goes on and on. Remember the Associated Press out of Michigan? And then it came out in California and then Texas? Where they do unannounced police drills, running into elementary schools screaming, we're homeschoolers against public education, we're going to kill you. They take them out in the parking lot and set a bus on fire as the children urinate on themselves. This is hardcore Soviet re-education. That is in the news. And the locals say, well, we were paid in the grant to go off this script, to demonize homeschooling and the Second Amendment. We have a completely criminal psych warfare government. You are under PSYOP attack. Time, you social engineering criminals, you parasites.
You can run on for a long time.
Run on for a long time.
Run on for a long time. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
I was sent a color scan of the Boston Herald that clearly has U.S. Army searching house to house for a bank robber. Remember my film Road to Tyranny, 2002? We interviewed a retired Marine Corps captain, owns a computer company now in Austin, who ran into a warrantless Army checkpoint in Kyle, south of Austin, got mad about it, and showed me photos, documents, all of it. Now it's declassified since then, of how in the late 1980s, regular Marines were secretly raiding gun owners' homes in Virginia. This has been a long-term, secret criminal program, totally illegal. And now they're just doing it out in the open. We are being hit from every side. This government is so stinking and so wicked. It's robbed 28 plus trill since the banker takeover of October 2008, in the last year and a month, year and 3 months. Man, how time flies. We're being raped by government on every side. Read the Declaration of Independence. Look at what the king did, creating swarms of new agencies and sending forth swarms of agents to eat out our substance, like locusts coming down on a wheat field and clearing it in minutes. I saw some statistics last night about TxDOT here in Texas and how they're still going ahead with the North American Union Trans-Texas corridors. They told the idiot public 10 years ago they were going to build this I-30 loop around Austin to make the trucks go around it. Then they made it a toll road. You drive on it, it's a ghost town. Nobody can pay the $7 to $8 depending on how far you ride on it. I've ridden it a few times. It's literally empty at rush hour. You might see a car every 10 minutes or something. I mean, it's just off the charts insane. Capital Metro, the bus system that 1% of Austin's citizens ride, cost an average of $37. That's in the Statesman today. $37 for a person to ride it. They pay $2 on average. They get $150 million a year to run it in Austin. Guess what the roads in Austin get? $70 million. They get double and $10 million extra. 2 times 70 million is 140 mil. They get $150 million, and they're getting ready to raise the sales tax even more in Austin for the stupid buses that nobody rides. The city isn't designed for buses. 1% of the city rides them. And they get $150 million. And I was listening to news stations this morning, flipping through the local news stations, and they were all announcing on the news, good little dutiful servants of the government, simultaneously reading off the scripts the government gives them, the PR scripts they're given, of how great it's going to be that we're going to have extra taxes in Austin for trains that nobody can ride or get to, because the city isn't set up for that. And how, don't worry, the state, who's getting record gas tax money, by the way, and all the federal money, that they are going to tax you by the mile, and you don't even have to have a satellite tracker box in your car. It's going to read your license plate mile to mile and send you a bill. And if you don't pay the bill, they're going to come and arrest you. And they have these radio and TV ads going, round up, Texas, round up, Austin. You'll be rounded up. So when there's a real roundup, people are used to hearing the word roundup. Roundup, over 10% of Texas has warrants out for their arrest. It'll be 50 by the time they're done. And they're going to squeeze and squeeze. They want you to go bankrupt. They want you to lose your kids. When you go bankrupt, CPS is going to come and they're going to take your children. And then they're going to have one-child policy. Then they're going to tell you, we'll let you have your kids back, but sterilize your daughters. That's now being announced in the news. They're now introducing it. And hey, we're going to naked body scan you and your family and record their naked bodies in your face. And hey, we're going to arrest homeschoolers' parents through color of law. I've looked at the New York law and statute. It's a civil penalty. They were supposed to call them, write them. Say, oh, you didn't register as a homeschooler, so we know your kids are... See, that's how... Oh, we got to know if kids are being educated. They come and arrest you as a stunt all over the country, all over Europe, the same social engineering. I'm going to break it down after the break, and Kurt Nimmo is going to do an article on this today on the key points I make and the points he adds that I need to get out to everybody because people need to understand the full system.